everyone. We are on page 182 and we're going to talk about ragtime style. I'm sure you all have heard piano rags and the ragtime style. We're going to learn about some of the rhythms that comprise ragtime style, but first let's just talk a little bit about who we consider the grandfather of ragtime piano music, and that is Scott Joplin. Joplin wrote over 100 rags, piano rags, and he wrote 2 operas, which was quite remarkable, and then also he wrote a ragtime ballet. He was born just 5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. That was in 1863, and he's born in 1868. So he never knew slavery, but both his parents were slaves, and they were from Texarkana, Texas. And the emancipation happened in waves, starting in the east and moving out west. So by the time it got to Texas, it was a little bit later. So they had just been emancipated shortly before he was born. And his father was a very, very gifted violinist. When he was a little boy on the plantation, somebody built a little cigar box violin, and he could just play. He probably had pitch, and he just could play from the minute he picked that up. So instead of working in the fields, they took him into the house, and he worked in the house and played for all the parties. And so he kind of grew up as a very privileged, if there is such a thing, privileged slave. He had one of the best lives a slave could have. And then when he was emancipated, the only work that he could find, he could not find a job as a violinist because that just wasn't easy to do back then. So he had to work on the railroads. And he ruined his hands doing that. He didn't play music anymore. He became an alcoholic. So anyway, long story short, Scott was with his mother only, and she was a maid. She cleaned houses for wealthy people, and he would tag along with her as a little toddler. And when he was very young, one of the houses they went to had a piano, and he went over and started playing the piano, and just like his father on the violin, he could just seem to play already. He was picking out melodies and had a natural gift. And his mother was horrified, don't touch that. But the owners heard him and encouraged it. And in fact, they paid for him to have piano lessons in their little town in Texas. So that's how he got his start. So, ragtime music, the name, we're not always sure, but a lot of people say it's called raggedy. It started being called raggedy music because of the raggedy syncopated rhythm. So look at the first one in 2/4. We have 16th and 8th notes. So it would be 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2. Again. Another typical ragtime rhythm is using the ties combined with 16ths. So number 2 and 1 and tie and yum bum ba ba ba. 1 and tie. Really common ragtime rhythm. And then the last one kind of mixes things up. Let's try that. Ready, and 1 E and 2 E and 1 and 2. Again. 1 E and 2 E and 1 and 2 and. Okay, so here's a little rag that I wrote using those rhythms that we just tapped. And notice that all of the ragtime rhythms in this piece and in most ragtime pieces are in the right hand. Not always, but very often. While the left hand is just kind of doing a steady bass line. There's a new term also, left hand sempre staccato. That means left hand always staccato. You can see that in measure 6. So other than the first 4 measures, which is a little introduction, the left hand then is relegated to just harmonic outline down in the bass. So I'd like to take a look at the right hand. Let's start with the introduction with both hands and see if you can get the rhythm. 1 E and a 2. Go. D, and then down an octave. Left hand. F sharp. Okay, so that's your intro, and then we're going to just take the left hand from that point. You're going to just find the octave, the D octaves, and then put your 2 on the G. And we're just doing kind of a little jump, the simplest kind of jump bass that you can reach everything. And then we go in measure 8 to an A. And that's for 4 bars. Back to G, walk it up. And then G, G. Okay, now it's different. F sharp. E, C, finger 5, and then we go back to measure 5. So in a typical rag, you know, you would typically have a big jump bass. You would have at the very least like a, and so you can see how tricky that would be to navigate playing the right hand. So generally you want to almost have the right hand just memorized so you can keep your eyes on the left because it's doing such big shifts. So I'm getting your feet wet by doing a pattern that you don't have to look down. You can feel most of it just by staying within 1 octave. Okay, let's try right hand at measure 5. You're going to start with your 4th finger on the D and thumb on the G. Okay, so about 1 and 2 and. 1 E and 2. Now your thumb is on the F sharp here. Stay there. And then I'm going to put a 4 here. You might have something that works better, but see if you use that, then your 4's on the D for 13. So think ahead on fingering. D sharp. Stay right there. And 2, stay there. Okay, now let's put that together, measure 5. I'll put it together. You do the hand that you need the most work on. Ready, and. I highly recommend when you're ready to put your hands together, don't just go right to the keyboard and add pitch and everything. First get the basic rhythm. So I'm just going to do 4 measures with you. Let's do measure, starting measure 5 through 8 and tap the hands. 1 and here we go. Both, 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 both. Both right, left, right, both right. Both, both, it's a mouthful. And here we go, both right, left, left. So I do encourage you, even though it seems over the top, to say the hands. If you can say the hands, it means you really know what's written in the score. So for example, again, measure 6, both right, left, both right. It's kind of like your left brain, where speech is directing the body what to do, as opposed to just kind of hoping for the best, you know, and hoping that it's right when you have a lot of room for error. So always make sure your rhythm and your rhythmic coordination between the 2 sides of your body is very solid before you add pitch, because that will only greatly complicated and could get you in the habit of playing with all great pitches and terrible rhythm. And that is not the route you want to go. Okay, enjoy that.